Welcome to Master English Stories, where history comes alive in simple and powerful words. Today, we bring you the life of a man whose ideas shook the world, inspired revolutions, and changed the way people think about work, money, and power. This is the story of Karl Marx. Listen closely, because this is more than history. It's a journey through struggle, hope, and the fight for justice. In 1818, in a small German town called Trier, a baby was born. His name was Karl Heinrich Marx. The town was quiet, surrounded by hills and rivers, but the world beyond was full of change and unrest. Karl's father, Heinrich, was a lawyer who loved books. His mother, Henriette, cared for the children with warmth. In their home, ideas and learning were important. Young Karl was full of questions. He wanted to know why some people were rich and others poor. Why some worked hard all day, but still had nothing. In school, Karl loved literature and philosophy. He discovered that words could change the way people think. At 17, Karl left Trier to study law. But soon, he found himself drawn to philosophy, the search for truth about life, society, and human nature. The early 1800s were filled with revolutions and political struggles. Kings and governments feared change. People demanded freedom and rights. Karl met a young woman named Jenny von Westphalen. She was intelligent, kind, and from a wealthy family. Despite their different backgrounds, they fell deeply in love. At university, Karl began to read about radical ideas: freedom, equality, and justice. These ideas would never leave him. He decided law was not for him. Instead, he wanted to write, to explore deep ideas, and to fight against injustice. Karl became a writer for a newspaper. He wrote fearlessly about unfair taxes, corruption, and the struggles of workers. His articles upset the authorities. The newspaper was shut down, and Karl was forced to leave Germany. In Paris, Karl met other thinkers and revolutionaries. The city was alive with debate and new ideas. Karl met Friedrich Engels, the son of a wealthy factory owner. Engels had seen the suffering of workers in England and wanted change too. Karl and Engels became friends and partners. Engels supported Karl financially for the rest of his life, allowing him to focus on writing. Karl studied economics, history, and politics. He wanted to understand the real reasons behind poverty and inequality. He wrote essays calling for workers to unite and fight for their rights. Governments began to see him as a threat. Karl was forced to leave Paris and move to Brussels, but he kept writing. Karl and Engels joined a group called the Communist League. They were asked to write a manifesto, a statement of their beliefs. In 1848, they finished the Communist Manifesto. It began with powerful words: "A spectre is haunting Europe, the spectre of communism." The manifesto called on workers everywhere to unite, break their chains, and build a fairer society. That same year, revolutions broke out across Europe, but they were crushed by armies. Karl had to flee once more, this time to London. He would spend the rest of his life there. Life in London was hard. Karl's family was often hungry, and some of his children died young. Through all the hardship, Jenny stayed by his side, believing in his work. Karl spent years in the British Museum Library, studying for his great work, Das Kapital. In Das Kapital, Karl explained how capitalism worked, how profit came from the labor of workers, and how this system created inequality. The book took years to write. Many times, Karl's health failed, but he kept working. Engels often paid Karl's rent and bought food for his family. Without Engels, Karl's work might never have been finished. Across Europe, more workers began reading Marx's ideas. Unions were forming, strikes were happening. For Karl, his ideas were not just words, they were a call to action. He wanted change in the real world. In 1881, Jenny died. Karl was heartbroken. His own health grew worse. He traveled to try to recover, but it was too late. Karl Marx died in London in 1883, aged 64. Only a small group of friends attended his funeral. At the funeral, Engels said that Marx had changed the course of human history. Even after his death, Marx's ideas spread. They inspired revolutions in Russia, China, and many other countries. Some used his ideas for good, others twisted them for power. His legacy became both celebrated and controversial. He gave voice to the poor and challenged the powerful. Karl Marx was not just a political thinker. He was also a philosopher, historian, and a dreamer of a better world. Engels spent his final years editing and publishing Marx's remaining work. Today, his name is known everywhere, sometimes loved, sometimes hated. Marx taught that no system is permanent, that people can change the way the world works. Perhaps his most famous call was, "Workers of the world, unite. You have nothing to lose but your chains." In today's world, debates about inequality still echo Marx's words. He was brilliant but stubborn, warm to friends but fierce in debate. His children grew up in hardship because of his dedication to his cause. His life teaches that ideas can be powerful weapons. Like all humans, Marx was not perfect, but his vision was to see a world without oppression. From small-town Trier to the capitals of Europe, his journey was one of thought and struggle. More than a century later, his name still sparks passion and argument. Karl walked the streets of London every day. He saw poor people living in tiny rooms, children working in factories, and families hungry. These sights reminded him why his work was so important. Marx visited factories and studied workers. He noticed long hours, little pay, and harsh conditions. He wrote detailed notes about their suffering. Even in poverty, Marx dreamed of a better world. He believed that one day, workers could unite and build a fair society. Karl often stayed up late at night, writing by candlelight. The small room smelled of ink and paper. He was determined to finish his books, no matter how hard life became. Marx wrote long letters to Engels, sharing ideas, plans, and worries. Engels replied with encouragement and advice. Their friendship was like a lifeline. Despite the chaos outside, Marx's home was full of books and discussion. Jenny and their children often joined him in debates and reading. Marx also spoke to small groups of workers and thinkers, explaining his ideas. People listened carefully because he spoke with passion. Many people did not understand Marx's ideas. Some called him a troublemaker or a dreamer. But he never stopped believing in his vision. After years of study, Marx finally published the first volume of Das Kapital. It was a powerful analysis of capitalism and the struggles of the working class. Some praised Marx as a genius. Others feared that his ideas could spark revolutions. Governments were careful and suspicious of his influence. Marx kept studying and writing. He collected evidence, analyzed data, and spoke with workers. His mind never stopped searching for answers. His family continued to live in poverty. Marx worried about their health, their future, and their happiness, but he felt he had a duty to humanity first. Even without power or money, Marx tried to support workers' movements. He encouraged strikes and meetings to fight for fairness. After Marx's death, Engels worked to publish the remaining volumes of Das Kapital, ensuring Marx's full vision was shared. Workers in Europe, Asia, and America read Marx's books. His ideas inspired unions, strikes, and discussions about justice and equality. Marx studied history to understand society. He believed that history was shaped by struggles between different social classes. Marx dedicated his life to fighting injustice. He believed that change could happen if ordinary people understood their power. Engels remained Marx's closest friend, supporter, and collaborator. Their partnership lasted decades through poverty, health problems, and danger. Marx wrote letters, essays, and books to teach people how to understand the world. He wanted knowledge to be a weapon for the poor. He often imagined a world where workers united across nations, where poverty and oppression could end, and where people lived fairly. This was the story of Karl Marx, a man who believed that ordinary people could change the world. Thank you for listening to Master English Stories. Until next time, keep learning, keep thinking, and keep believing in the power of ideas.